Getachew Reda, member of Central Command, thank you so much for your time. And let me begin by asking, a statement issued on Thursday by your government said that it would accept a call by the Ethiopian government for the humanitarian truce in the event that the right circumstances arise for the people of Tigray to receive the level of humanitarian assistance required to address the needs on the ground within a reasonable time frame. What did you mean by that?
Well, what we meant by that is that we are ready to honor the cessation of hostilities as long as it is going to be in the best interest of our people. Our people are starving, not because they failed to produce, but rather because there has been a concerted effort, a systematic campaign on the part of the government and its accomplices to impose a siege on our people. So we are currently facing a near catastrophic situation where thousands of tens of thousands of people are in the brink of starvation today. So as long as the cessation of hostilities agreement is going to create a conducive environment for our people to have access to, unfettered access to humanitarian aid, which the international community has been in the forefront of organizing for quite some time now, and then would be more than willing to extend our support and our willingness to honor a cessation of hostility. But it's not going to be, we don't expect it to be a simple publicity exercise or an attempt to hoodwink the international community into believing that there is a readiness on the part of the government to allow for unfettered humanitarian access. The reason why we are saying this has to be done within a reasonable time frame is simply a function of the fact that if such humanitarian access, unfettered humanitarian access is not allowed within a reasonable time frame, the kind of famine situation that our people are facing has reached a point where it has now become untenable for us to wait more weeks or months. So essentially what we are saying is this is a life and death issue, and then we expect the international community to get its access together and to bring its pressure to bear on the government in Addis Ababa to keep its end of the agreement. So as long as our people's needs are going to be met, we're not going to put conditions. We'll be extending whatever amount of cooperation is required of us. That's pretty much what the statement was about.
Have you or your government learned of any improved access for humanitarian aid since the call for a humanitarian truce by Abiy Ahmed's government on Thursday?
None that we know of. I know there has been a flurry of media reports that they have further strengthened their effort to allow for humanitarian access to Tigray, but nothing of the sort has happened so far. We closely monitor the situation. We closely engage our partners, international partners, including members of the diplomatic community who have been actively involved in trying to bring pressure to bear on the government in Addis Ababa. We still expect the international community to really be serious, especially this is not a question of a dozen or 10,000 or whatever, no matter what its number. It's not about trucks. It's about ensuring unfettered access, humanitarian access to the people of Tigray, to the needy. And if indications the last 5 days are any guide, there appears to be little in the way of progress. But we also expect the international community to put pressure on the government in Addis Ababa to honor its promise. And of course, we also call on the government to stop prevaricating and to stop making specious allegations here and there, and to drag its feet when it comes to allowing for a safe passage of humanitarian access to Tigray. So the simple answer is there has not been any progress, but we continue to call upon both the government in Addis Ababa and our international partners and members of the international community to continue to put pressure on the government. So the idea of unfettered humanitarian access could soon be realized.
Okay. Yilqal Kafala, a president of the Amhara region, said in his address to a regional state council that regional forces were working with cooperation with the Ethiopian National Defense Force to eliminate the Tigrayan government as a threat, and said that the ENDF were expanding recruitment and undertaking general reform for a war on Tigray. Do you have any reason to believe that the Ethiopian government will follow through with its commitment with the humanitarian truce?
Well, we just hope that they will follow through their commitment to the so-called humanitarian truce. Whether Yilqal is going to remain content with such an arrangement is an entirely different matter. We know for a fact the whole idea of negotiations is anathema to the Amhara expansionists and their Eritrean underwriters. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do everything within their power to sabotage any meaningful rapprochement or any meaningful negotiations process between the government in Addis Ababa and the government of Tigray, because essentially they cannot, I don't think they will rest until they make sure that what they consider to be their mortal threat, the people of Tigray and the government of Tigray, are eliminated from the face of the earth. But the fact that we're not eliminated from the face of the earth has nothing to do with lack of such intention on their part. It has everything to do with the people of Tigray's resilience and their determination to fight it out in the face of injustice, in the face of systematic campaign. Of course, we have found ourselves at the receiving end of their genocidal campaigns, and we have no reason to believe that this is going to change anytime soon. It's not for lack of intention that we are surviving. It is simply because our people fought tenaciously and will continue to fight tenaciously, no matter what the intentions, the evil designs of these expansionists and their underwriters are. So it's our hope and expectation that the government in Addis Ababa will realize once again it is not going to be in its best interest to continue to push for military solution for this problem, because if it did work the first time around, there is no reason why it's going to work this time around. As far as we're concerned, I have to reiterate again and again that the reason why the people of Tigray have not been wiped off the face of the earth has nothing to do with lack of intention to do so by the likes of Yilqal or his brothers in crime in Asmara or in Addis Ababa. It has everything to do with the resolve and determination of the people of Tigray to fight another day. And I have every reason to believe that that determination and resolve is still there, and of course will overcome whatever odds.
You recently published an article on foreign policy, and you led it on that you were disappointed by the international community's rather weak response to the humanitarian catastrophe in Tigray, especially in light of the more robust response we've seen to the crisis in Ukraine. Do you think there's still time for the international community to fulfill its obligation to the people of Tigray?
Well, you see, many international civil servants, especially those who are involved in humanitarian operations, have been on record saying that this rather sluggish response toward the humanitarian crisis in Tigray is a stain in their conscience. This is something every Western official would say in public and should say in public. It exactly is a stain in their conscience. It's a stain in our conscience. To allow a government to continue to exterminate its own people, to use hunger as a weapon, it should remain a stain in their conscience. We can understand why the focus on Ukraine is much more lopsided compared to the focus on Tigray. We can understand. Yes, Ukraine deserves all the attention it is getting, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the international community should abandon other hotspots such as Tigray altogether. Still, as I say, it's better late than never, and the international community can still do by way of bringing its pressure to bear on the government in Addis or its partners in Asmara to allow for unfettered humanitarian access. I think it behooves the international community to once again dispense with this sometimes nonsensical discussion about how many trucks will make it to Tigray. It's not a question of 20 trucks, it's not a question of 1,000 trucks. It is a question of ensuring unfettered access to humanitarian aid to the needy, whether they are in Tigray or in Amhara or in Afar. That I don't think is particularly relevant. What matters is that there are millions of people who are in need, and the international community should not feel content with empty promises of delivery of aid, or when in actual fact nothing has materialized. But still, with the right mix of carrots and sticks, the international community, along with countries like the United States, should be and are in a position to bring about change in this regard. Because ultimately, even the government in Addis Ababa and its partners, we would want to do business with the rest of the world, and there are objective reasons why they should somehow be prodded into reason, except that not sufficient amount of prodding has been applied so far. So we expect the international community to get its actors together and to do whatever it takes to bring its pressure to bear on the decisions of people in Addis Ababa or in Asmara or in Amhara or in Afar. But the most important issue at this point is for the central government in Addis Ababa to honor whatever promise it has made, to keep its end of the promise, and no amount of excuses is going to exculpate it from responsibility. That's what I can say.
Getachew Reda, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.